Joking. Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody out there in the On the Chain community? Scooby-Doo, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the live stream a little late to start? We're right
it
on
is,
time.
yeah. We had some,
Punctual.
well, we are
Punctual at 8:05. Oh, wait, it's 8:18. We got a little bit into talking and listening to some music that we wrote for today's show. So we'll be playing that. Excited about that. But you're right. Here we are getting ready to talk about XRP as it's tanking back down to 0.06 cents.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, man.
The whole market's taking a little bit of a turn, the ups and the downs. XRP gets a $1 billion boost. What is up with that? We're going to talk about what that $1 billion boost is, BitGo, Flare, and the future of crypto. BitGo CEO is calling for an XRP Spot ETF, and there's a lot still going on with Flare's new Firelight tech that's just heating up the space, and it looks like they're just like lighting a match under the XRPL. A lot of geopolitical tension going on right now, as we know. Political. What does this mean, Chip, for the future of crypto, the future of our financial security, and XRP? Is XRP going to adopt? Is it not? Where's the stable coins going to end up? What does this all mean? Are we entering World War III? Or is that just the talk of a bunch of those libertarians out there on YouTube? If you're ready to kick this thing off, we're also going to dig into some of those rhinos out there calling for some crazy things. And it's about time they get ousted out of Congress. We don't like rhinos in office, just like we don't like the Democrats in office. So they're basically the same thing. And you can lump them in with the libertarians that are trying to be in office. So let's get ready to kick off some interesting crypto talk, geopolitical talk. And we'll get into all those other things that we mentioned.
And some conversations we didn't even plan on, which always happens. Squirrel. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome, everybody, to On the Chain. Here we are. Man, are we a little late? Man, maybe. On our standards, even by our standards, I think we're late.
By our standards, we are late. Apologize for the lateness, for the tardiness.
XRP was at $1.96. Now it's $2.02.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, if it hits 4, 5, 6, whatever. I mean, and everyone's like, everyone has the wrong take on this whole Iran thing. It's just people are real shallow, man. They're like, my God, Trump. And the first sign, they run like little bitches and they can't take it. They misunderstand the phrase peace through strength.
Well, they don't get it.
Peace through strength. It's not a war. There's no boots on the ground. It's not going there. So just everybody, that's one of the reasons the crypto market tanks. Like, oh no, World War III. Sit down, losers. Okay, let the adults are in charge. The adults are handling it. You guys can sit down and cry and whine like you always do.
That's it.
Hugo Fillion, the CEO extraordinaire of none other than Flare. He put this on. This was really curious. I love this because there's so much excitement about what's going on with the Firelight team. He said that he spent much of the last week in the U.S. with the Firelight team. This product is hugely innovative and has the potential to put billions, if not tens of billions of XRP to work on Flare.
Tens of
billions.
Whoa.
That's huge.
That's big.
I mean, billions is one thing, but tens of billions, hello. I like
tens of billions is big. I like that number. I like the tens of billions.
Hugo's pretty grounded. He's not a hyper. He's been very careful, and so if Hugo's saying that, you're like, wow, he's very impressed at what he's seen, the Firelight team and this whole idea of staking. Man, it's gonna be. There's so many great things coming on for people that have been holding XRP for a long time. You have some great things that are happening, and then on top of the heels, you got these spot ETFs that are going to be going. You have regular ETFs are going to be. It's a great time. 2025 is going to be a game changer in terms of blockchain. And in terms of everything we've seen over the last couple of years, it's been kind of stagnant. But now that we are this far from passing the Genius Act over there in the House, hopefully they don't make any changes and send it back to the Senate. And then on the heels of that, we got more crypto legislation coming. So it is somewhat exciting. Look who popped in. Someone we haven't seen in a long time.
And he actually just sent me something to play real quick. So before I even announce who it is, I'm going to play what he just sent.
Okay, play it.
Let me just play. It's like 12 seconds.
Music version?
Here we go. It's a music version.
Okay, good.
Here we go. Sir John.
Sir John, man, wow, it's fantastic.
We haven't seen you in forever. And,
Gosh, man.
and we get a song and everything. That was pretty awesome.
Croat. Yeah, we have not seen the Croatian. He's not been in here in a long time. Holy crap. Yeah. Did we add the music to that? I think did we add the music to that?
We didn't add it. Somebody else added it.
Somebody else added it, but
And
it
sent
was
that
just
over to us.
it was acapella. They sent it to us. That's right. So it was awesome. You know, listen, you're an OG. If you have a video that gets played, that's saying something, man. That's saying quite a bit, isn't it, Jeff?
It really is. And Sir John is currently in the Sahara Desert on the Moroccan-Algerian border. What a place to be.
Dude. Right.
Man, look at that.
There
That's
you are.
quite a place to be. And
You got
tuning
internet.
into On the Chain. It's
You
got
on a cam?
X amount of internet left, and he tunes into On the Chain. There you go. That's how you do it.
Fantastic. It's really good stuff. That's a sentimental video clip. Yeah, hell yeah, it is. It is. It is absolutely
is.
sentimental. For so many reasons,
That's
it's
amazing.
just fantastic. Right?
It's amazing. I mean, that's got to go back. That's a couple years ago, easy.
Oh, without it, at least a couple years. So, Crypto Eddie put this out. She posted this. I'm gonna get some more data points on this. Let me see what I can find here. Hang on. Let me look. Man.
And we're getting to the CEO of BitGo.
Yeah, I want to get to that. So this
Which one do you
is
want to put up first? That one first, or are you
yeah, I
gonna
think
get
we're going to play that one first. So this is and Crypto Eddie is one that collated this. She's the one that actually put it together, and so we didn't have to watch the whole damn thing. Not only that, but she found it, which is even better.
Dude,
She
check out
put it
this
together.
comment. Look, I love comments like this. Daniel Smith on the chain, but the info is off the chain for sure. Respect. Man, that's awesome.
Respect, bro. I appreciate that, man. That's really fantastic. So
There you go. It's 2020, 2021. So it's about 4 or 5 years ago.
yeah, my God, is that long ago? Holy cow.
Man.
CEO of BitGo is talking in this clip about Ripple and XRP, and this is why XRP needs a spot ETFs, XRP-Fi, XRP treasury strategies, and more innovators and builders. Shout out to Crypto Eddie for putting this together. Very cool. But let's throw this up here. Let's do this. Let's listen in.
Stablecoin business, you don't need, but do you want a master account?
At a Fed master account? Yeah, we'd love a Fed master account. Then we get to skip the banks. So if you go back in time in digital assets about 10 years, there's this company Ripple, you might have heard of them. They had originally decided they were going to try to tackle cross-border payments by use of their XRP token. And so the idea was that they would become the rails between banks, and then you would have a local on-ramp where you take dollars, convert it to XRP, zip it across the world, and then convert those XRP back to Mexican pesos or whatever. It turns out that's two conversions, right? And USD stablecoins are just better. So in fact, Ripple just launched a stablecoin, a US dollar-backed stablecoin. There's some talk in different countries about getting, a euro-backed stablecoin. In fact, there is one. Eurosea, Circle has one. None of these have really taken off a lot yet, and I think it's because they're still just trying to get traction. But I do think we're going to see dollars become more of the rails across the world. I know there's a few countries that don't like dollars, but they'll probably get beaten into submission for it. So imagine as a retail user of this, you put your money into the stablecoin. It's one-to-one backed. There's an audit that comes out twice a month that shows that it's one-to-one backed. At the end of each month, some coins get airdropped into your digital account, which is your interest on that. And if you ever need to send it to anybody, you can send to everybody. At the farmer's market, you can tap two phones together and pay the producer of the food. At the coffee shop, you can use the point-of-sale mechanism. It just works super simple.
Anywhere in the world. Without
Peer-to-peer plus peer to intermediary. I mean, the great thing about peer-to-peer is that it covers everybody. You can go into retail to business, retail to retail, business to business. It all works, yeah.
Dude, that what he's referencing is kind of the game change of what everything is moving towards. And this was the simplicity that people have been talking about since the inception of Bitcoin, which, trying to figure out how do you circumvent the traditional mechanism, the financial infrastructure. So now we've gone this whole path, 10, 12, 15 years to get to a stable coin, which is a representation of a currency. Going back, everybody wants to be pegged back to the USD, mainly because of stability. And here we go again, on a global scale. The difference is, if you go around the world, holding and transacting in USD country to country is regulated in many scenarios. And in some scenarios, they prefer to use USD. In other scenarios, it's regulated. And in some scenarios, they don't even allow you to transact or hold USD. And so if you go into a shop and you're like, I just have $10, they're like, sorry, you got to go to the bank to convert. The citizens of the country typically in many of those scenarios they can't have a USD account. So they would have to be strictly in cash. In this scenario, anybody anywhere in the world could potentially have, let's say, a Ripple stablecoin account or wallet someplace on one of their exchanges if they have access to the exchange, and they would essentially be able to accept and pay in USD. Changes things fundamentally on a global stage. Some of the things he referenced, which is where Ripple was at in the beginning, which was simplifying conversion process, and he mentioned two conversions having to take place. Let's say USD into XRP, move it, and then XRP back into the native currency. That could be problematic and clunky if you think about it from a manual perspective. But if it's technology happening behind the scenes, is it really clunky? Is it delaying anything? Ripple, obviously, all these years has kind of run into a stumbling block trying to work with banks and convince them that was the right solution. So here they are now introducing stablecoin. What are your thoughts on this in terms of where Ripple started, their objective of cross-border payment, and then forget Ripple, let's go outside of it in terms of just on a global scale, moving money, based on some of his reference points?
Well, I mean, he kind of got some of that right when he talked about there's two conversions. Okay, 4 more seconds. Oh boy. So it doesn't really matter on the XRPL whether you're going from a digital asset to, to some sort of a, legacy type of currency. It doesn't really matter so much, but I think his basic sentiment was there about what he was talking about. But Ripple's largely had to pivot into some other things because they couldn't really get the traction. The lawsuit threw a lot of stuff off. Banks didn't want to work with them. All the building happened really outside of the US. So they did bump up against it. But I mean, you have projects like SUI, you got all these other cool tokens that were released that do more transactions per second. They are more transactions as a whole, but I mean, just better tech, right? So better tech all the way around. So, but the XRPL is going to be hard to beat in terms of now you see a lot of the builders, building on it, and what its strengths are. First decentralized exchange, the DEX is a really big thing. But I think ultimately, Ripple's making some good moves, right? So you can kind of see where they're targeting, because when they start taking charge of custody and money licensing and all these money transmitter licenses, they have a lot of them. There are a lot of regulate. So they've been navigating the waters, and I think they made a really good pivot, especially in acquiring Hidden Road. I think Hidden Road is like kind of everyone's like, oh, we're the Hidden Road. Well, the Hidden Road gives them access to all the big guys, right? And then so now when you can couple in the custody piece on top of the movement piece, you basically purchase yourself a you don't have to go looking for them. They are now your customers because you own Hidden Road. So I think that they've been making a lot of great pivots. The whole idea of releasing the stable coin, well, that came from the feedback of banks saying, well, yeah, okay, I know XRPs. We always called it the stable coin because it doesn't move much, Jeff, right? It doesn't go up a lot, doesn't come down, but even a couple cents here and there over the course of trying to send 10 or 20 million dollars, that's a big, if it changes enough, that's a big hit. And so one thing that the stable coin is going to eliminate, it'll burn XRP, it'll use XRP when it would burn a tiny fraction of it. But the real big deal is the fact that they can get some, real traction with that. And the fact that they were, Garlinghouse came out and said that they minted almost 20% of the of Circle. You think about their stable coin, it's pretty damn huge. And, they don't necessarily need to acquire. And it's amazing the Circle. I'm even shocked at how the stock prices stayed up and it's continued to stay up. It was a good bet. If you got in at $30, 40, 60, 100, it was a pretty good bet to get in. But the real big, the Ripple's on a good is on a good pivot right now. And it's not to say that they're not going to continue to do cross-border payments. There's such a big marketplace. People don't understand. There's room for so many players. And if you're in the software business, there's 20 different flavors of every piece on a B2B side, B2C side. There's so many competitors in there. There's enough of the pie for people to enjoy. So I don't necessarily think people, that's not going away, but you add the tokenization, you add some other things in there. And I think that Ripple's making some very good moves as an organization from the top down. And they're seeing a broader, bigger picture where, cross-border payments, like Garlinghouse said, that was the first use case we wanted to focus on. It's not going to be the last one.
No, and I think the other thing is that the market is also beginning to identify the true use of crypto asset. I think everybody thought it was payments. Bitcoin maxis thought it was to replace banks and to pay for stuff. Bitcoin, they still think that. Obviously, Bitcoin isn't good for that. It's more of a store of value, and that's how it's been identified by countries and big corporations like MicroStrategy that are putting it into their treasury. When it gets into, and you brought this up, and I think it's really important, the overall expansion objective of a crypto asset, and you brought up tokenization. You just mentioned it. This is, as we're starting to really identify and see where we're going. Ripple initially thinking, hey, it was about cross-border payments, just like Bitcoin. Hey, well, we're going to use XRP. It's going to be all about cross-border payments. It's going to be used as a payment rail. Well, that didn't work out so well. And so pivoting back to the stable coin, again, they're focused on their business. They've got to focus on their business model. Regardless if you use XRP, doesn't use XRP, their solution is going to be utilizing the XRPL because there's a lot of technology baked in there. They're still focused on trying to emphasize movement of money. That's their whole business use case. They've pivoted. They've made some adjustment. Stablecoin fits their narrative so much better. It makes a lot of sense. The other, part that was missing, that when you're doing a transaction and you have to have a transaction going into XRP and then out of XRP, each one of those transactions could be conceivably looked at as a taxable event, in the US. And so that also becomes problematic. If you're moving millions of dollars, even a small move, margin, if you're holding your XRP, if you're doing an instant transaction, probably not, but there's still an event. Even if it moves a decimal point, you could conceivably say, hey, you just made a profit or you made a loss based on your transaction. And now you got to account for that profit or loss, so now that opens up another dialogue. So I think there were components of this that we're missing because we don't have regulatory clarity. There's no real rules of the road on that. If they would at least objectively state that moving in and out of crypto assets is not a taxable event, then I think the market is going to shift dramatically. There's so many facets of this. It's not just about moving money. There's more elements to where the crypto markets are going from a financial infrastructure. And I like the one thing, Chip, that the guy was talking about a lot, or referencing this, which is being able to stake your asset, stake your stable coin. If you can hold a stable coin and you can then stake it and you can gain interest on it, then it's just like putting USD into an interest-bearing account, except in the crypto space, your money move could conceivably be higher. Plus, there's so many other variables to where you can put it. Whereas if you're holding a crypto asset and you stake it, the crypto asset's going up and down while you're, so obviously everybody knows, all these different elements, but it gets relatively confusing, I think, for the average person, trying to get into this and try to understand all of this from a mainstream perspective. And that's where I still believe that with all these companies and use cases, everyone's really just figuring out the narrative. but it's developing, and it's happening now almost at a, it's going to happen at a lightning pace. I think that we entered into a phase where it was a little slow, but I think things are going to start picking up and start going, at lightning pace once we get to tokenization, understanding the utility of the NFT, trying to really securing what Flare's working on with smart contracts within utilizing the crypto assets is probably the bigger use case than just paying for something in a grocery store.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think it's, you just got to stay with it. Look, 2025, there's a lot of turmoil. You don't just spend 4 years of being dragged through the mud, having things just downtrodden, and all of a sudden you flip a switch. We all like to think there's a magical switch, but there isn't. And you see how the market tanks because people are fickle. Human beings get very panicked because they don't see the big picture, and they can't understand the big picture because they can't connect the dots, and they don't understand. Donald Trump didn't come to office to be the peace president, and they're like, he's attacking. And look, that's how it is. Reagan called it. It's called peace through strength. You take out nuclear facilities. Boom. These guys flew 30+ hour missions in the sky, getting refueled all the way to go make this historic thing happen. And it's like, the F-A-F-O, F around, find out. So you want to F around, you're going to find out. And if they want to, the supreme leader saying he wants to execute or he wants to initiate a sleeper cell in the U.S. Well, we know terrorists are here, but oh no, we were told that, media told us, Jeff, that no, that's BS. Meanwhile, there's people, not only from, a lot of people think the people that came in from South America, yes, some of them, they came from Africa, they came from Europe, they came from the Middle East, they went to Mexico, and they walked across the border because it was wide open. So it was the easiest way to get in, or through Canada. Canada was the other easy access point. A little bit more difficult getting through, but if you just walk across the border, you don't have to go to a border. You just walk across from Canada into the U.S., and you're home free.
Plus, not to really, belabor the fear factor of this, but the sleeper cell has been established here for decades. So it's not even just in the past couple of years. The past couple of years, I'm convinced they ratcheted up under Biden because of everything you just said. But for decades, you just look around the communities. You can see what's been happening with the extremism in different communities. It's been there. It's been developing. They've been putting a foothold into here in the U.S. as well as in Europe. And so it's going to be, there's more to talk on the geopolitics side when we get to there.
I think we're there, Jeff.
Are we?
We just ventured in. I think we're pretty much there. There's not a lot of stuff going on in crypto. And it's really coming to me today. So we're already there. But Jim D said we blew a few doors off some hardened, empty, old reactor buildings. He said it's idiotic.
Yeah, I would disagree with that.
I disagree with that too. And you know why it's not idiotic? Because say they're totally abandoned, they were nuclear facilities at one point, whatever, but they didn't cover that there was some nuclear facilities. This is a show. Play the hand. Go ahead. Next move. Want to play? Let's play. That's what that's about. It doesn't really matter what it is. They took it out, but they're not going to get nuclear power. They're not going to get nuclear weapons. They've been trying since the 80s. They've been, going strong as they possibly can. And what we talked about on the last show yesterday, we talked about everything that Iran does is made in a factory and distributed everywhere. Okay, it's all the bombs that go into Israel. It's everywhere. It's all the bombs. I love the guy that talked. He said it's not Cletus. Jihadists making this stuff, in a basement somewhere. No, this is very organized. This is very, there's a lot of premeditated thought to go into it. And you had people like Obama funding this stuff left and right. When you cut off the USAID, all of a sudden, geez, weird. The DNC is in trouble. They're not funding anything. There's not as much funding for these protesters. Not only the pet project's not getting greenlit, but also struggling around the world too, because you're not funding the terrorists. I played that clip of the guy in the hearing where he's saying, we sent how much $1 million to Hamas? We sent how much? We're funneling money, taxpayer money that's getting funneled into these organizations. So, and it's a deep state threat. That's the bigger thing. But people don't realize how big a deep state. The two big strongholds are Ukraine. That's where the money laundering goes, and Iran. That's where all the terrorist funding goes, and it's distributed all over. That's where all the bomb making goes. All the stuff that happens that funds all that stuff, you're breaking it up. And so what's happening here, with what Trump's really doing here, as he's making a show. He's saying there's going to be peace, but if you don't flex a little muscle once in a while, there's not going to be any peace. You're sitting back thinking, kumbaya, oh no, what's going on? There's so many people out there that claim to be MAGA. So many people, this isn't MAGA. You got Thomas Massey. This isn't MAGA. Well, yeah, it is, buddy. It is exactly MAGA, because that's what I voted for. I voted for peace. And the Abraham Accords were that first shot across the bow, and nobody gave Trump credit for it. But like Jeff has expressed here before, of doing a lot of business with folks from the Middle East, they absolutely love Israel. And there was somebody that put up a post the other day that said, if you are, secretly, the Middle East is saying, thank you, Israel. They won't say it out loud, but secretly saying thank you, because they do not want the rabble rouser, the nut job, the crazy, between that. And you notice that none of these Middle East countries will take anybody from Hamas. They don't want them. They don't want anybody from Gaza. Why? Because they're nut jobs, man. They're off the rails. They don't want them in their country. They don't want them admitted. They kick them out if they make it in. If they sort of somehow slip through, they get kicked out or thrown in jail. So if the Middle East countries don't want these rabble rousers, they sure don't want Iran. And that was when Trump went to Saudi Arabia, kind of like telegraphed what was going to happen. But if you don't have a world leader on the stage who knows how to negotiate, who knows how to flex a little muscle, who is trying to get peace, and he wants unconditional surrender, now they're like, oh, now we're into regime change. Well, guess what? The Iranian people are going to want the regime change. Let them take care of it.
Right.
What's traditionally happened,
And they're close.
CIA, all these, the three-letter agencies would install somebody, get them on the dole, get them on the payroll, turn into a deep state operative country, and control the hell out of them. Same thing they did with North Korea, right? Trump come in there, broke that cabal up. He went in there, and all of a sudden they were out. So this is what people don't realize on the bigger stage. These are strongholds by way more going on than on the surface. But you got to go down that rabbit hole to understand how that works. If you're reading surface stuff, you'll miss a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, when you really get in and see what's happening on the street, in the communities around the world, especially within the Persian communities around the world, in the U.S., in Europe. They fled the regime because of what was going on in that regime, the ultimate control. Iran wasn't always like it is now. Once Ayatollah took over, and they regulate, through force. What we saw, today or yesterday, whatever the time frame was, in London, is that you had the Persians protesting in front of the Iranian embassy in London with their flags and with Israeli flags, protesting and calling for the toppling of that regime. And they were thanking Israel for what they did, thanking the U.S. for what they did, because it's liberation. And we saw some of the groups in Syria, issuing a thank you to Israel as well, because you look at, what was happening under Assad, and you see what's happening under the Ayatollah in Iran, and you see around the region, those that were bearing influence. Iran was controlling all the moving pieces from Lebanon to Syria, and even within Iraq. I was watching an interesting one today, and they were talking about the original IEDs in Iraq until the Iranians got involved, and they gave them new technology to where, you just have to look out for the guy that was going to trigger the device. To all of a sudden, he said you needed a $25 million vehicle to avoid getting hit with these IEDs, and it was because of the influence from Iran. Iran is influenced, that you mentioned before, with all the missiles. All you have to do is go, read and look at the regional news and see what's been happening and orchestrating over the past decades. And, you can see the changes on the streets, dig in and start, really, understanding, I would say, from a, I don't want to say from necessarily a civil perspective, but, from that local community perspective, and so that's where, if you go and talk to people, from Lebanon. Talk to the Christian that were in Lebanon that lost everything and the abuse that they had suffered. Talk to people that had fled Syria. Talk to, Persians in the U.S. that, have left from Iran and see what their communities are like in this country and in Europe. And they want to live in peace and they just want, they want freedom. And that's what it's all about, and in this scenario, we see a war, going on right now, this battle. It's kind of a destabilizing battle, but it had to take place. He was from the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy, whatever. And so I think he was the director at one point previous, but he was saying that Iran, the only country in the world, I don't know what the exact percentage of enrichment, most countries, we'd have to look it up. Maybe someone can look it up, what the typical enrichment level of uranium is for non-military purpose, non-weaponization purpose. It has to be 90% for weaponization. I know it's lower than 60% because in his what he was talking about is that Iran is the only country in the world that enriches to 60% because it's one step before weaponization of uranium. Everybody else in the world, I don't know if it's 40%, I don't know if it's 30 or 50. Maybe someone can look it up and see what that is. But he was making that statement that Iran's the only one that that enriches to 60%. And when they didn't get what they wanted on the world stage from a negotiation perspective, or all the different trials and tribulations that have gone over the years, what they would do is increase more enrichment of uranium at 60%. So it's such a it's such a travesty. So for people to say, oh, Iran didn't do anything, well, if every other country in the world with nuclear power is enriching to, again, whatever that percentage is, and Iran's the only one in the world to enrich to 60%, then the question that you have to ask is, why are they doing that? And if it's one step before weaponization and they're this close from weaponization of that uranium, then you also have to ask why. And if they're the ones that are the global sponsors of terrorism, what happens when they do weaponize it? And this impacts everything, not just in the Middle East, but it impacts Europe, it impacts the US, it impacts everybody in the entire world. Because there was another one from Germany, and I was watching it today. One of the chancellors and I don't know who this other guy was, but they were talking about what's happening over in Iran with Ayatollah. Is they said that, and actually it might have been, no, you know what? I think it was one of the princes from Saudi Arabia that was talking, and he was talking about how, within Europe, we saw what happened with Hitler and we saw his rise to power. And when we saw his rise to power, everyone ignored the fact of what his true objective was. And then obviously it unfolded that he had this objective of, conquering Europe, and then, everything else, his ambitions. And he said, this is exactly what the Ayatollah wants to do through the caliphate. And they want to have larger, broader conquest. And that's why they have their proxies, the Houthis, and they have Hamas, and they had Hezbollah, and they had already moved and influenced Syria. They have influence in Iraq right now. And so as they start, expanding, they have an objective, and we can see what their objective is. And it could be 10 years, it could be 20, it could be 30. They get a nuclear weapon, it's over. That's it, because now they hold everybody hostage because they're not afraid to use it. Go back to the war between Iran and Iraq. They were using chemical weapons again, and so Syria used chemical weapons on their own population. So if they're willing to do that, what else are they, what else will they do? Right now, Israel targeting military institutions within Iran, going after leadership in Iran shooting missiles into population centers. They're taking out apartment buildings. They're targeting hospitals. They targeted one of the largest research institutions over there. They do a ton of cancer research. I think it had like $500 million in damage and research that's been lost forever. But these are the places that they're targeting. And it's crazy to see these residential buildings. I have a neighbor down around the street, and his parents' building was hit. The whole building came down. So it's just indiscriminate, just target population centers. That's a major, difference. And you start thinking about that. This is what they're willing to do. So for the U.S. action, and Chip, you mentioned it, I think spot on. Trump has made a massive statement. We, thank God we have a president that cares about this country, cares about our troops, and we can be proud of the United States again. But he went in there and specifically, targeted those facilities and dropped that 30,000 pound bomb or whatever. Amazing. The bunker busters. I don't know if it was still the Moab or whatever. It was amazing, just amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's so much going on. I mean, gosh, there's so much really to talk about. It really is. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. I wanted to go back to just crypto for 1 second here.
We got to go back to crypto. We kind of sidelined the squirrel into the geopolitics.
I was going to ask you too. You said Houthis. Like Houthi sounds like a band, but I've also heard Houthis. Yeah,
that's all. I always think about that.
There's a th in there. Houthis.
I'm sure there's Houthis.
There's Houthis and Houthis. Which ones are dangerous? So, Raoul Paul, who's been an analyst and has a pretty solid background, but he's very bullish in the fact that he's saying that the cycle is mirroring 2017. It could peak by June of 26. He says AI, ETFs, and liquidity may drive crypto from a 3 trillion market to 100 trillion. Now, I absolutely think that's possible. Like, you used to think this was crazy talk a while ago, but with all the momentum of what's happening, what do you think? It was like 19 different ETFs, or not all spot ETFs, but there's a whole bunch of different ETFs, Solana, you name it, Bitcoin. There's so many of them that it's crypto. I think 2025 may be the year of the pivot of going maybe more mainstream. But it's not wrong here.
Yeah,
3 trillion, like 2 trillion, at a bad times 1.5 trillion, 3 trillion. Man, forget about that. 10, 15, 20. This is where we're heading. A lot of conditions are sort of pointing us there. But Jeff, you were talking before about Bitcoin, and I just happened to see this show on my feed. So Bitcoin Ben, who is forever, he's always shilling and this, and he's one of these maxis. But you got to laugh when you see stuff like this. The Federal Reserve is being replaced by Bitcoin and stable coin bill. Absolutely not happening. No chance. And the Federal Reserve is not being replaced by Bitcoin. First of all, in order to shut down the Federal Reserve, it's got to be done by Congress. Okay, number one, you can ignore them, like Trump is doing some stuff on the side, but the Stablecoin Act bill has nothing to do with that. So it's like everybody's all in this hype. And Bitcoin is not going to be a payment rail. I saw somebody who was a major Bitcoin max. He says we fail if it doesn't become a payment rail. We fail. Original intent, like we would. It's not. If it fails as a payment rail, and it's failed as a payment rail.
It's not a payment rail.
It's not a payment rail. It never will be a payment rail. It's too expensive to send. It's clunky. It's just not what Bitcoin's made for. It's not. That's not Bitcoin. And it's not in their wheelhouse. I laugh when I see these different.
But people on all sides keep talking about this. They keep talking about, Bitcoin or XRP. Is going to be the main currency. And it's just I think Art on the Lake is bringing up a great point too. What gold will bring down the Fed, but it's gold. If you do a store even of crypto assets, get a basket of goods that are outside the purview of the Fed to bolster up the treasury, and then now all of a sudden everything changes.
I think we have so much. I think the gold we have is so understated, and it's been pressed down for so long. But Art is 100% right. Gold will take out the Fed. That's what's pretty much going to happen. If you think about Trump is going to end the Fed any possible way that he can. We do not need. I mean, you talk about being enslaved to a third party who's never been audited. I'm sure there's no tomfoolery going on around there. If it's happening in the government and these people, and if you think they can press a button and just mint $1 billion, where do you think they're sending that? Without anybody else knowing. Hell, there were servers sending it without anybody knowing the U.S. government. They didn't know where it was going. There's no in the ledger. There was no reason for it. I mean, this is insane that all this stuff was happening, and that was the tip of the iceberg. That's the stuff that casually came across. And by the way, 5 million Social Security numbers, 5 million let out to illegals. I wonder how that happened. We were told that they weren't voting, but if you have a Social Security number, You're definitely getting a license. You're doing a lot of other things, and you are voting. So this is we know the game. That was the whole con game from day one. You got to go ahead and you got to do the voters. And I thought I had a nice meme here for that. Let's see, where is the meme that I had here? Hopefully I loaded it, and it looks like I did. Here it is, right here. There it is, right there. Democrats watching illegal aliens they brought in to steal elections be sent home. There you go. It's pretty much how it works. And you know, there's so much evidence of it. I mean, of course they were voting. And then why would you think they would sell out and disintegrate their party? Because they care about illegals? No. They care about being installed for a lifetime and rigging elections. That's how it's always been. So that game is changing quickly.
Here you go. A couple of comments. They all kind of tie back together. Visual Vendetta saying there's no way the USA can go back to the gold standard. Force PW said, what gold? The building's empty. Sir John says, what about the Fort Knox audit? Where's that? What's going on with that? Sure. Then Force said the Democrats have it in their home votes.
That's true. That there is some truth to that. Oh, there is some truth to that.
All of that all kind of ties together. Where's the audit of Fort Knox? Is the building empty, or is there really gold in there? And then Visual Vendetta, can we go back to a gold standard? I don't know that we go back specifically to a gold standard, but
maybe not. I mean, it might I think it's going to be part by gold. But Richie Torres, who wait a minute, what the heck? I hit the wrong button there.
What just happened? Oh, how about this one? Out with the maritime law, in with the constitutional law.
There we go, right here. So Richie Torres, he's a Democrat. Every once in a while, he jumps out of his lane.
Man, it's amazing to me.
Because he does jump out of his lane, but he said the world can achieve peace in the Middle East, or it can accept a rogue nuclear weapons program, but it cannot have both. The decisive destruction of the Fordo fuel enrichment plant prevents the dangerous spread of nuclear weapons in the world's most combustible region. No one truly committed to nuclear non-proliferation should mourn the fall of Fordo.
Yep.
He's really jumping on a limb here. I'm like, he's against his whole entire party. It's insane. And every once in a while, they take him behind the woodshed. He gets beaten down. He comes out like a good, Democrat, and he, talks the talk and makes a couple things. And I just don't. This guy will. Then you'll see right after this, Jeff, he'll come out and start making statements that are so out of character. It's like obvious what's happening, because every time he does one of these ventures into like, hey, this is the right thing to do, and his phone starts blowing up with text, then he'll go out and make some outrage. I've seen it happen every single time. He'll go out and make an outrageous, he's been pro crypto. He's been beaten into submission for
crypto, but extremely pro crypto.
The election time, he wasn't sticking his neck out about pro crypto like
he toned it down. But I think is he a co-signer on the bill, on the current bill?
He's a co-signer on the bill.
Is he?
But Richie Torres is all over the place. I sometimes don't understand where he is, because he comes out and he says things that kind of make sense, but then he kind of he just kind of goes a little bit rogue once in a while. I don't know what's up. And then this one, Jeff, you want to hear this one? Like, this is actually a news story. The WNBA star Natasha Cloud, who in this audience knows. I follow a little WNBA just because of all that. There's always some drama going on there. Okay, who knows her? Number one. Number two, who cares what but she appears to call for Trump's impeachment after Iran strikes. Why is this even a story? I mean, that league is propped up by the NBA. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars to keep it going because we care about women's sports. Well, if it was on its own, it would have failed when a year or 2 years into it, because, without Caitlin Clark and some drama going on there with a few others, Caitlin
watching
league tomorrow.
Yeah.
And bring a lot of funds and money and bring some of the best players around the world. And she could start a competing league probably with 8 teams that would destroy the WNBA. But it's a joke. It's like we have to have a women's version of it, and it can't even stand on its own. And it's a joke. And who is she? Who cares? Nobody cares what she thinks.
No,
I can't even a story, Jeff. Like, why is that a story?
I have no idea. I was a little surprised to see that anybody even cared that it was a story. So therefore, we had to talk about it, because it's so shocking that it was a story.
I don't know. John Nolte, who goes by John Ocasio Rodham Nolte, he said there was no mega civil war over the U.S. airstrikes against Iran, which they predicted. More than one poll showed that this was an 80-20% issue among Trump voters, with 80% in for strikes. What they're But what there was is a handful of high-profile MAGA leaders against any action, which skewed reality. And Trump did the right, moral, and courageous thing. A world without nuclear Iran, a Middle East without a nuclear Iran has a real chance at peace. Iran causes 90% of the ME problems, Middle East problems, and conflicts. Kill their nuclear plans, kill Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. That's the only path to success. Why people don't see this, I don't know. They're fickle. I mean, I wonder what their lives are like. Like, hey, somebody cut me up, and they run into a tree or something because they can't take the. I mean, like, I've never seen such lightweight, pathetic losers out there, especially on the right. Like massive. Up. I mean, this is like, you guys are out of your minds for just like, they're so flaky. Though something happens that they weren't expecting. They don't. Yeah, peace through strength. Trump didn't spend 40 years talking about this to go to start shipping, putting boots on the ground. Come on, man, pay attention.
Yep.
Oh my God, it crushes me to think about how stupid people can be.
Sir John, WNBA is the only American sport which is not a thing even in the U.S.
except for King Clark getting smashed down, like 3 people hitting her, knocked to the ground, and
And on that note, though, Chip, today I didn't make it down there. I was going to go. There were 200,000 people on the beach for the parade, for the Panthers parade down in Fort Lauderdale. They paraded all the way down A1A, basically from Sunrise all the way down past Las Olas. And it was a crazy spectacle over there. Last year, thunderstorms, lightning, and all of that. But today they drove down the entire strip, and I got to watch it. I was doing stuff here, but I was watching it, and it was so much fun to see. Victory number 2 last year. Obviously, Panthers took the Stanley Cup. This year, they took it again, and the chant on the stage was number 3. So they're going for number 3. Number 3. They're going for it again for next year. It's their 3rd year in a row in the finals. Florida's held the finals for 6 years now. 3 years with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They won twice. And then 3 years now with the Panthers, and they've won twice in a row. So we'll go for a nice.
If you're a Canadian, I'm sorry, because you haven't won since the Habs won in '92. A Canadian team,
right? Canadians on the Panthers get the victory because they were obviously Canadian players.
In Florida, like on the beach, I'll tell you that. This is this is something that Reagan always said. If fascism ever comes to America, it will come in the name of liberalism. It's
That's
here.
Right.
So, I mean, Reagan, they ignored him. They poked at him. They thought he was a joke. And, people sometimes get into a little tiff tap when I say that I think Trump has shown himself to be more conservative than even, because Reagan had 2 terms, different time. He did reduce the size of government in his first term, but when he left office, he probably wasn't in his right mind the last 2 years. He had onset of dementia. I think it was Joe Biden bad, but it was sloppy. And he was, starting to lose it a little bit towards the end, but the government was larger. You had, the Iran Contra affair. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that was Iran again, funny, and how did Trump get it on? Largely was because of the hostages. Again, Iran, right? Because they took our hostage. I mean, they've been this, this destructive force. This isn't like a year, 2 years, but decades of this stuff's been going on. It's insane what's been going on this long. So you just got to know history a little bit to even understand like what's going on, right? I mean, because most people don't even pay. But I'll tell you this: I was happy to see this job. I didn't really know Trump had a good voice, but look at this. Here's him singing.
Grand ransom news for a global display. Let the U.S. said no, not today. With the cyber zap quick and the drone in the sky. No nukes for you, just a piece of invite. No reactors are spinning, no bombs gonna spark. We shut it all down with a wink in the dark. Do-wop, no nukes, we're the red, white, and blue. Sing harmony sweet, cause we're seeing this through. No nukes for you.
Well, hey, before that was hilarious. Before we go into anything else, we way past the bottom of the hour. I see people putting the Yeti in. Got to get it. How many Yetis do we have in there?
14 in there.
What do we have?
Voice of an angel. We have 14 entries in Yeti. Give
All
it
right, so we got to play this. Hey, here we go. Here we go. Wrote a song about it. Here we go.
You ready to win? A badass Yeti for the white tribe. From the clan of Yuck Yucks. Shout it! Hey! You know the word of the day. Green, come on! Come on! Yes, it! Yes, it! Yes, it! Mark it, stomp it, stand our ground. Get your Zaman wallet ready. Are you really asking why? Because this ain't just a drop. It's a fucking whiteout. This is your legacy. This is your just reward. Claim your badass Yeti or be forgotten. Like a footnote in history. Oh, badass Yetis on the chain.
Another banger, Jeff. Whew,
I like that one.
going crazy.
I like this vibe. I like this kind of theme with the synth and everything. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome. What was awesome, man? So this is a supreme leader talking of Iran, talking after.
We actually do have land. We're gonna have to do that giveaway on. I think we have one more plot of land.
Though, because we go,
Okay, so
We do that on
I
Wednesday.
want to address the rumors going around about our nuclear program being obliterated by the YMCA shake a booty dancing guy in the rallies, you know, the guy with the nice hair. Anyway, I mean, you guys, why do we even need a nuclear program anyway? Can't we just get some nice solar panels and windmills and shit? We don't need nuclear shit. So anyway, I need you guys to stop using electricity because we don't got shit anymore. These motherfuckers send us back to the friggin' Stone Age. Thank you.
gee, that's something. That was something. And
I
then,
love those. I can't get enough of those.
because we're hearing that, oh, you can't do congressional support and the Congress has to authorize it. No, people, pay attention. But this guy brings up a really good point.
Today I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
They did what?
Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. Because
Libya? Oh shit, I ain't never heard of Libya.
to our
That's new.
national security, they can take the diplomatic.
So at the end of the day, the question all it comes down to is y'all really mad at the strikes or is y'all just mad at the person who did it? Because Obama did the same goddamn thing. But we didn't hear nobody talking about he bombed the country and shit. He didn't bomb no fucking body. These are military operations that go on throughout our country. This is why we have a military, the armed forces, the Marines and all this shit, and have all this equipment that's worth billions of dollars. This is what this is for, to do stuff like this. Operations. Where do you think they came up with the game Call of Duty, nigga? Like, y'all liberals think y'all slick, though. But best believe, though, I'm on y'all ass all day, though.
Yeah, I like Call of Duty.
You bring up some good points, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
And the other weird thing too is, like, again, I didn't think Trump was such a good singer, but here we are. Tell me if you know this song
Good
here.
dancer.
when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. Dead on people.
If you're watching this, this is Trump and Putin singing together. Now Putin's taking the solo.
Dying. Oh, it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There is a choice we making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free. As God has shown us, by turning stone to bread, and so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world,
Yes.
we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Venezuela.
There's a choice we making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Way down and out, and there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Well, let's realize, oh, that.
From Italy. The
Anyway,
time
you get
frame.
the gist.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
It's out of control.
It's
And then
so freaking amazing.
this was something that came up. I was surprised to hear this. Trump plans for Iran. Wait, 3 holes are home.
Be a fucking man.
3 holes already. I get. That's funny.
Be a fucking man.
Oh, that's funny.
This came up on my feed. James Woods, who's an absolute hero, he put this out. This was on election night, right around 4 or 5 o'clock. This is a political analyst. She tells us she's a political analyst, but she talks about a little story that happened to her. And of course, she was voting for Kamala Harris. But this is
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on
the night of election. Listen how excited she is, Jeff.
across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne.
My God.
I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa.
Didn't take any of them, by the way.
He said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you later. That never gets old. I've seen that about 10 times, and I enjoy watching. She's so sure of herself, right?
Yes, exactly.
She's a
She's a baby killer.
Political analyst, Jeff. Did you know?
Sir John said, Chip, you could just show us the lady. Didn't have to mention she voted for Kamala. It's way too obvious. It was definitely obvious.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Oh my God. She's crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't like you didn't know that. You're right. It wasn't like you didn't know. Of course.
But this is the problem with them, though, Chip. Each one of them, they're so pompous that they immediately just make an assumption that they're right, but they're just lunatics. I mean, we can look at our stuff, analyze it, understand the history of it, the ramification of it, and then come out with a correct answer. These people just emotionally think they're right. They have no factual basis behind it.
You know how people talk about like when Moon, they go when Lambo.
Oh, yeah.
Here's somebody who filmed a Lambo racing a Tesla, one of those cyber trucks. Here it is. Check it.
There's no you can't. The Tesla truck just it's instant power. There's no comparison.
Hold up. A little bit.
They're gonna block traffic like this. He can't even get his fingers to move fast enough to do the shifting.
And Lambo, man. This side took a lot of joy in this.
Tesla.
This was up in Washington. These Antifa. They're yelling at the cops. Listen to this.
Where is this?
This was up in Washington, I think.
State.
Something.
And goodbye.
There you
Seattle.
Yeah.
And every one of them's arrested. And there you go.
Anyway.
What's that?
Anyway, like whining like little, but they talk so tough, don't they, Jeff?
Peace through strength. There you go. See?
Hells to the hells to the
down.
Let's look at this. Jeff, you got the Badass Yeti song on.
Bart Simpson's grandpa's more sane than Antifa. That's right.
Which, of course.
Mark Smith.
We have 18 and we're ready to rip here.
Just a freak woman. A good reminder why I stay single. That's why you can't.
Crowd brought out the B team. Yeah,
that's right.
They're always
we have. I can't see.
That is the A team right there. That their B team is the A team. They usually bring out the worst.
That's right. Do we play the song one more time? We're going to do the drawing. What time is it?
Let's do the drawing. It's getting late here. It's,
oh, look at that. Oh, it's 9:20.
Over an hour. Right. 3 minutes in.
Hang on. Where's the? Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. Let's do it. Ready?
Nope. I just scrolled off. Why can't I find it? Hang on. Oh, here we go. Nope.
And roasted beans straight to your cave monthly without burning your wallet. No fluff, no fads, just fucking great coffee. Hand-picked, small batch, roasted, Yeti approved. Ho to join the rebellion. Drink like a legend. Badass YETISCoffee.com. The percolation never stops.
There it is, baby. Badass.
There you go. Badass Yeti Coffee. Badass Yeti Coffee.com.
There it is right there.
Is it any good, Chip?
Nah, it's fucking great, Jeff. Jeff. Yeah, people love it. They come back for more, which is good. It's always a good sign.
Badass Yeti Coffee.com.
And they come back for more. Right? All right.
Here we go.
Go. Good night. Draw people. Get yours. Get your Yaman, Razaman.
Yetis.
Yetis.
Oh, I forgot to hit the Oh,
ETX.
ETX small biz.
Biz. Not to be confused with ETX large biz.
Or medium biz.
Medium biz. Let's do it. You here, man? ETX? I haven't seen ETX.
I haven't even seen him. See, are you here? Number one, you got to say you're here. Number two,
you won, dude. You got to say what? That's as good as here. Number two, get your Zaman wallet. Get your wallet. Get your wallet. Get your wallet. Get your wallet ready. And also, we need your handle for X. What's your handle?
Yes, that too.
On X. What is it? Let's see. I'm going to see if I can find this. Is it on there? Sometimes people don't have.
All right, that's awesome. ETX small biz.
Congratulations, man. Yeah. Bad.
Trying to find the spreadsheet.
I don't see ETX small biz. Different name. Twitter.
You just won a badass Yeti of the White Tribe from the clan Yuck Yucks.
Yuck Yucks.
Yuck Yucks. About
No,
to show
I don't see anything with under ETX small biz. So maybe you have a different handle. Maybe you're not even on X. I never understand that.
No, some people don't have X. Some people prefer dropped out of
We laugh at you.
social media after they lost their what was that Google one called?
I can't remember.
You remember that?
Dude, I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
Rigged.
It was called Google Plus.
Google Plus. That's what it was.
That's what it was called, Jeff.
It's exactly what it was called.
Shit.
All right. I'm going to get back on the YouTube again. Trying to scroll through to make sure I see it.
Congrats, ETX. Congrats. Getting all the congrats poured in. Yeah.
There it is. I got you. Zaman wallet right here.
Bunker busting Yeti. Yeah.
Gonna transfer over here. So as I do that, actually, before I transfer it over, you probably want to see the badass yuck that you just won.
Yeah, let's see
everybody wants to get a little bit jealous of this yuck. Check out this. Gonna remove.
Yeah, we remove that so you can put that up there, dude.
And there he is. Look at this guy. This is a yuck. The yucks add kind of the comedic flair to the whole Yeti project. Enter the yucks. They're very funny. They make funny sounds. They do funny things, but don't run into them because they'll probably crush you. They're still badass, and they're still badass Yetis. So they fight like the best, but they're comedy relief. So that is the badass Yeti of the White Tribe, number 1298. So that's the one you just got. Let me go over here. I'm going to transfer this bad boy over to you. So get ready. Going to send that over here. Let me hit the transfer button. And get ready for this. Let me open up the Zaman wallet. I got the Zaman wallet ready, Chip. Got the Zaman wallet ready to transfer.
Let's do it.
Go to the QR code. Boom. And so quick.
And
this is why the XRPL kicks ass, because you can have an NFT. We can go through the transaction, burn a little bit of XRP while we're at it, and boom, now you have the NFT. Just like that. We just transfer this bad boy over to you. You're now a proud owner of a badass Yeti from the White Tribe of the clan Yucks, and we just did it all just like in seconds. And now you have this NFT. We just sent it to you, and that's amazing. You don't have to. There's no gas fees, nothing like that. Don't have to wait 48 hours. Like boom, now you got a yuck. So there you go. There you have it, Chip. He is the badass owner of Yuck 1298. And then do you have an X handle? Did we establish that?
I don't think we do. I don't think you answered that.
Do you have an X handle? If you have an X handle, then when we can put it out on X, and then we can say, hey, check out who won. It was ETX of the small biz. We have not established that. All right. Of course it's rigged.
I don't know, but it's somebody rigging it. Just
So
damn.
Jen said, of course it's rigged. The OTC show is pre-recorded.
Recorded. I like that. Someone came in there and asked that one time, Jeff, which I think he's making a joke of because
Yeah.
like, is it recorded? And we mentioned, yeah, we randomly mentioning your name for the hell of it.
For the hell of it. But yes, we did pre-record this. Art on the Lake got an X handle. Look at that.
Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's all. Well, follow us. We'll follow you back. Thomas Massey got blown out by Trump, dude. He just ripped him a new one. He said he'll be out there in Kentucky. He said the good news, we'll have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning super hard.
That's it.
About lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, of which Thomas Massey is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for an amazing job. Man, it's a long post. He ripped him a new one. So, all right, let's do that. Let's get out of here.
That's all we got. Obsidian Asset.
Beautiful.
So that's his X handle. So I got that. Gonna put that in here right now. We're gonna send out an X post right away for this great win, this great victory. Congratulations. There you go. And now we're sending it.
Just follow back. As I always like to put everyone's handle in here. So guys, go follow. Go follow right there. Obsidian Asset. There you go. Just popped it in the thing. Guys, everybody click on that has an X handle. Go follow. We should all be following each other.
That would be a good idea.
Give them a follow. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see what it's supposed to look like when you get there. And you can see exactly what's going on here. It's got the castle and everything. See that? The castle?
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Big ass castle, man.
I like it.
Oh. There you have it. There you have it.
Putting it out here right now. Posting this on X.
Terrific, man. Terrific. Okay. That's all the stuff we have tonight, guys. We will see you on the next one. And you know what's coming next.
On my hashtag. What's next?
We're out, dude. Chip and Jeff are out, dude.
We're
That's
out. We are out. That's exactly right.
Guys, on the next one. Chip and Jeff out.
Out.
Ready? Go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.